Hello, my name is Alton, co-founder, CEO of GRX Immersive Labs. We're an immersive storytelling platform for learning, and we really believe the future of education is world building. And today I want to talk about tools to unleash the imagination and how we can empower creators through storytelling, education, and technology. As I mentioned before, my background is in film and television. I was directing feature films for about 10 years, and then around 2016, 17, something like that, I had an opportunity to create an immersive experience, and Verizon had a chance to see it, and they really challenged me to really understand how to leverage immersive storytelling for education. And that took me down a journey and really taking our company into R&D to really understand how could we leverage immersive storytelling for learning and education. And the first opportunity I had a chance to do this with was an application called GRX Arts, Beats, and Tech. And what was really powerful was not only getting the application, the immersive application in the hands of the teachers, but they were empowered to really push and learn something new, and then also really excited to get into the hands of their students, and really seeing them how they took this new technology, emerging technology, and applied it to not only their own curriculum and workflow, but also getting the students excited about using their imagination to come in and co-create together in this new immersive space. From there, I had the opportunity to move on to a wonderful project with Time Magazine and Time Studios called The March, which was a recreation of the March on Washington in '63. And this was a collaboration between Juby Productions, Digital Domain, Viola Davis, and what was really great about this was I had the opportunity to get introduced to an amazing tool called Unreal Engine. And at the time, I didn't really know much about it, but what was great was Digital Domain took me through the process of understanding how they leveraged this tool to build this world that we created in the March on Washington. And from there, I also applied it to my next project, which is currently out right now, called POV, Points of View. So I want to show you just a quick behind-the-scenes clip of how we were able to capture these worlds, capture these characters, and start to build out an immersive story and use this project for education, all the way from the immersive exhibition to Time for Kids, and leveraging this project for education to empower creators and storytellers with this tool.
We are recreating the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, allowing visitors to experience that moment in history firsthand and to see for the first time ever in VR Dr. King deliver the dream speech. To create the crowd of 250,000 people that came to the march that day, we scanned over 80 actors of all ages.
We had one of the young actors, Lavelle. We found out his great-grandfather was actually a part of the march.
I know that my grandpa worked with him. I know that.
The Reverend Jeffrey Joseph was a civil rights activist, marched with Dr. King, and was standing about 50 feet away from him when he gave the dream speech.
Be sure you contact your captains for anything.
It was a whole lot of fear involved, and lives in danger. People who wanted to be for you, they were in just as much danger as those that were against us.
We invited Reverend Joseph to actually come to our production studio and do the same scan that his great-grandson Lavelle had done, and allowed them to march side by side down Constitution Avenue.
King said this in his last speech: "We will overcome. When you get to the promised land, I won't be with you."
Part of the power of this project is that we are able to bring the past generations together with the present, to help the younger generation understand the civil rights movement and why this was such an important moment in American history.
So after wrapping this project, it really gave me a real clear understanding of what it takes to do world building. And working with Digital Domain and the collaborators on this project, my co-creator, Mia Trams, and the producers, it really sparked my imagination all over again. And it led me on a journey of really understanding how could I leverage this tool. So I had an opportunity to get into the Unreal Fellowship Program. And I had heard about Unreal, but never really touched it hands-on. And here was the first time I had an opportunity to really tap into my own imagination and really see what I could do with this tool. So I was tasked in the program to create a 2-minute experience. And I wanted to make something about an individual who discovers an abandoned space lab and uncovers this experiment, right? So I had to really think about, okay, how can I world build if I really don't have the tools, right? I didn't have any coding experience, no animation experience, no 3D experience, no visual effects experience. And I was a little bit intimidated by that. But going into the program and really understanding what I did have, I knew that with this tool, I could leverage my imagination, basic tools like Google Slides and Unreal Marketplace and the Unreal Engine itself, just by taking some time to go through the learning portal. And what I discovered was there was a lot of great assets already completed, such as the Mars colony here. I was able to add that in. Then I had an opportunity to do more of the search, and I found this lab. And then I started to say, okay, now I can do this. I put assets together, and then I opened up Unreal Engine, started to work my way around the sequencer, which was a tool that I was close to understanding because I understood a camera. And from there, it was just about taking my shots and world building and putting things together. So I started to move my props around and change my lighting. And it was very comprehensive and very empowering throughout this process, as you can see. And once I started to get that down, I said, okay, now I can do this. And it really inspired me that if I can do it, now I can get other people to do it. And now we've dedicated our company to actually being able to empower other creators by using these tools. I just want to show you a quick glimpse of what we created in this program, and I hope to encourage other creators out there that they can do it too, and to leverage these powerful tools to world build, because I really think this can be the future of education and learning.
You're on,
All
guys.
set. Can you hear me? Let me know when you want me to kick it off.
I'll give you an audience view there.
Oh, they waving.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go. You're on.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the first part of our presentation, Tools to Unleash the Imagination. We kind of were in a place where we were really trying to figure out, where to go with a lot of these tools. But now I want to dive a little bit deeper into how you leverage these tools beyond just the technology. But expanding on the tools that we already possess, such as our DNA, our unique perspectives, our point of view, and our experiences, which are really important. And I want to introduce John Agyepong. Also, he likes to be called Yao. He comes from the music business, the nonprofit sector, and historical studies. And share a little bit of information about how he leveraged his gifts and talents and unleashed his imagination in this space. Having a non-tech background, where we collaborate on a project with Verizon, our partnership with Verizon, to do a project called Arts, Beats, and Tech. And I want you to tell them about, your experience and how it allowed you to tap into your imagination, your unique skills and DNA, and create new pathways for yourself and also within the company. Here, John. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all good. Hey, hello, everyone. I don't know if this technically counts to say that I've been to New Zealand now. We have to figure that out because I love to travel and I haven't been to the New Zealand yet, but I hope to be there next time. But thank you for having us and being a part of it. So my background, I was born and raised in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm a first generation American African, if you would say, and grew up in the 90s where, music was a huge thing for me and growing up with my siblings and cousins and family. And kind of living in this dichotomy of two worlds, my parents being from Ghana and me being in America and having these two different cultures within a larger cultural group. And that became something really instrumental in my experience. So being a part of a band, which is go-go music, I'm not sure if you've heard of go-go music out there, but if you've heard any of the popular songs like Beyonce and stuff like that, they've always used go-go sounds. It's a lot of percussions and drums and such. So I was in the go-go band, but I got really intrigued with history and even religion as I got older. So I began to take off on my own journey. I left the DC area, went to school in Springfield, Missouri, was there in the Midwest for 5 years, and then ended up in LA around 2001. Began to work in the nonprofit after getting my master's and traveling quite extensively throughout Europe and Africa, and just learning culture and learning more about myself, because me traveling to Africa during this time period was my first time going to Africa in general. So that was a whole culture shock for me, although I had it in my blood. So I was learning about DNA, and that's a huge thing that we talk about here at GRX is there's different levels of immersion, right? And once you understand someone's story from their perspective, you can really embrace it at a different level. I like to use the example of the tree, and the eagle sees the tree from the top and the ant sees it at the bottom. Can the ant tell the eagle that it's not seeing it? No, it's just different perspectives. So that's what I liked about immersive technology. So after traveling through Africa, the music bug kind of bit me again. And I was heading out to some of the clubs in Africa. That was a whole culture shock in myself, because there would be, mass development in the music space, but, the outer areas were a little bit tough to move through, but it felt like I was in Miami. So I was like, wow, this is really crazy. And a friend of mine asked me about bringing artists to Africa for their first time. So I started bringing hip hop artists to Africa, taking them to Europe and different tours and such. And Alton and I have always been friends. And I was working with him when he was in the movie industry. I would do little things or just, come by and support. And he told me about this project. And I realized everything that I had gone through, I can now use it. So I was able to use history. I was able to use music to teach history and also begin to game, because I love playing video games. So that was a cool thing. And GRX allowed me to notch under my belt that I have made a curriculum, an app, and in the immersive space. So I'm a understudy under this great brother who's allowed me to have the opportunity. And that's the one thing I love about GRX is that we love people's different perspectives, because your imagination, your point of view is going to help tell the greater story, i.e. see the whole tree. So that's a little bit about myself and my journey in a short while. I wish I was there to actually see smiles and faces, but it's cool that I can feel your energy somewhat. But I guess we can leave the floor for questions. Alton, unless you had any thoughts. You're on mute.
Yeah, I think for me, this journey has, taught me a lot about, not discounting our own personal tools to unleash our imagination and your unique ingredients. And then as you develop new skill sets and transferable skills, bringing all those together allow you to unleash your imagination at a whole new level. Like I never thought I'd be going from, filmmaking as a storyteller to immersive technology and into leveraging history, music, and immersive storytelling for learning and building an entire platform, still leveraging my skill sets as a storyteller into a business where we now provide immersive education. And we still get to do what we love, which is tell stories. So that's what's been great about learning how to leverage everything that we currently have and see that in other people, and seeing the different things that y'all possessed. When we put this app together, even Verizon said, they said, hey, we like you to work with us because you're a great storyteller. We want to do something different with the way we're providing educational content within our network and within our schools. So I said, I never thought about that. Storytelling is education, is learning. So they helped me tap into my imagination and use my tools in a different way. So that's what we really believe in. Just want to encourage people to think outside of just the technical, but how you blend all these things together and leverage that to unleash that imagination. When you might get stuck in a certain position or certain thing, how to turn that back on and dig deeper and make that imagination explode. So that's pretty much it. And I hope that this was helpful in unlocking the trajectory of that journey, how you can put all those things together and build out a great team to continue to do great things together beyond what you might have thought was possible. And we have a video to show it in action as well at the end. So,
hey, Alton, how's John? It's Audria. How you doing? Hey. Question for
mask on.
I know, right. How hard was it still, or was it, or still is, for the technology barrier? Usually, you have TDs and you have artists, but in your case, it was just yourself and the Unreal Engine and kind of wrestling with it. Do you still, to this day, still have an issue with bridging that gap between mastering the technology and telling your story, or you find it's gotten simpler?
I would say it's about lowering that, you don't have to know everything. We also have an Unreal Engine training program. So when we bring people into the program, it's like, look, this is a very vast tool, right? But don't get overwhelmed by all of the things that you feel like you have to learn. As you learn the broader strokes of it, determine what aspects of the engine or the tool that connect with you most, and then build upon that. But at least when you come to a problem, I can go back to learning blueprints or learning cameras, learning lighting later, but find what you connect with, pull out what you have experience in, and build upon that first, and then make that a building block. There are certain things and certain technologies I'm just honest about people I work with, and I say, hey, look, I'm great at camera. When I get in a certain tool, I know how to use that. And now I want to learn other things to strengthen and broaden, my career or my business or my idea. So it's not as intimidating as it used to be, but you just have to learn and lean in and be honest about where you are, and work with a team that's willing to help you continue to build, as they say, iron sharpens iron. So bringing your unique perspective to the table, which can help someone else too.
That's good. Thanks.
Anyone else?
You mentioned a Unreal learning program. What would you recommend as some of the good places to start for getting into Unreal?
Oh yeah, so we have an immersive academy where we it's called Immersive Media and Intro to Virtual Production, where we teach the fundamentals of how to bring those two together. And we definitely, if you email us, we can share more details on that and more resources. And then Unreal has a wonderful program and development community for this as well, to get started and continue to keep your learning going. And the community is really strong. So we can definitely share some of those with you if you email us at studio@grximmersive.com. At studio@grximmersive.com. We can follow up with you and get you some assistance.
Yeah. Thanks again, just for talking to us today. A lot of Americans, it sounds like, which is pretty funny, actually, in the audience. So I guess when you're going from storytelling in kind of like a 2D space to immersive storytelling, what are kind of the most important pieces that you pull out? What are things that people really grab onto, or you as an artist kind of grab onto when you make that shift?
Sound became a whole new character for me. It became a whole new understanding of, now you have to not think just 2D in the frame, you have to think spatially, right? So, how do I go from directing a shot to choreographing an experience or a scene, right? It's no longer about a shot, it's about an experience. And how do I, bring you into that, understand how I use this stage in a sense, right? Because it's closer to theater in a sense than anything. How do I use all of this? And you have so many more rich tools to play with. And when you can ground yourself and start to think about that, you're talking about every direction now, right? You can't cheat, you can't hide. It's funny because even when you shoot actors in the 360 or VR experience, they'll forget that the camera doesn't just stop. Everything is, they'll walk across and think that they're out of camera, but it's not like that. So just getting yourself grounded to understand that it's a spatial thing. Sound is going to be a big contributor to your storytelling, and learning how to use that as another tool in your toolbox, and the choreography, whether it's props, elements, lights, certain triggers to help you, build that experience out.
Also, for me, I think the different dimensions that the immersive space brings you into, because you're dealing with, like you said, the 360 audio, especially in the education space. Usually traditional education is very, you respond, you regurgitate, and you answer, and you get a grade, you go up. But in the immersive space, now you can engage people on different levels, and you have to be mindful of those pieces. Just like in music, for me, a cheap mic versus an expensive mic. The expensive mic is going to give you texture, and any movement that you make that is off is going to pick it up. And so you have to be perfected and intentional with everything that you do, depending on the level of equipment. And that's what motion capture and those things remind me of. So that's how I'm able to translate from music into this space and use those gifts a little differently. Because we can use anything we have. Everyone is an artist. A bachelor's of art is not just having, the wild guy with a bunch of tattoos. It's like, no, if you're a English teacher, you're an artist. So we love helping educators find their artistic space. Then they get so excited about the app because they get to channel that energy in a different way. That's my point.
And I would say trying things as well when you transition to that space. Doing things wrong will help you too, because you have a responsibility as you bring people into that immersive space for them within your story and experience. So trying things and say, oh, I know how this feels. You know what I mean? That's going to be really helpful as well as you're building out your experiences when you transition into, 2D to immersive.
And we didn't start with Time Magazine. He did his own movie first, and every step, he learned more, grow more, but you have to be willing to take those, those risks. So that's one thing I do appreciate about working with GRX, is that we're willing to take calculated risks, but we'll take it. We learn, and we turn it into, gold, because now you know not what to do when you learn other things that you would never do. So at least you don't make that mistake.
Yeah, that's a good point, because when I wanted to get into VR and immersive, I actually started off with just an idea. And I did that idea with my daughter. It was like I wanted to make Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in VR, and I wanted to see what that felt like and do something with my daughter. And that became the first project that I began to iterate on. that became the project that actually Verizon had a chance to see later on when we made it for real at a festival. But I did a lot of R&D, and when Verizon saw that, they were like, "Wow, this is really amazing. Could you use this for education?" I had never thought about that, and that's how that relationship started to build from just that one idea, that one short VR experience that we made, took us into this whole new direction.
Awesome. We'll probably have time for one more question.
Hi, I was just wondering, in the beginning video, you used like a 3D scanner to put people into a virtual environment, and I was just wondering what that pipeline was like, taking it into Unreal and like all the tools that you used.
Yeah, so that's pretty much photogrammetry, right? Where they take a volume and they capture all the characters, and then they clean them up, get them to a size and where they can actually go into the engine. Now, back when we did that project, I think we were in an early version of Unreal Engine. So, but now, you can bring in, characters with a lot more polygons, which is really cool. So, but there was a lot of work that had to be done to sort of decimate the asset, bring it down a little bit. But once you model it and refine it, you just bring it in and you rig it, with the bones and everything in the character. And then we took that with Digital Domain, which was the company that did all of that. They then took that into motion capture state, phase. And then we did all the motion capture, and then later retargeted that data to the characters. And then I got a chance to see them in VR and then direct those scenes. Yeah. And now there's a lot of places you can get, pre-made assets like Mixamo. You come up with an idea, find your animations, and then put them onto your, your asset in the Unreal Engine store. So a lot of things you can do, kit bashing and prototyping to make a really awesome project now, from when we started.
Thank you very much for your time today, Alton and John, and we really appreciate it. And
Thank you.
Thank you.